Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Shibley, and I'm joined today with Kara from Simplifying Senior Services. I'm sorry. Remind me again what the name of your company is.
That's okay. It's Simplifying Senior Living.
I apologize.
Yes. That's okay.
Senior Living. And we are coming together for another session of our Caregiving 101, which the first session is just understanding what's happening, and for people who are brand new to caregiving, congratulations, mom fell and broke her hip. Congratulations, you're now the caregiver. My husband had a bad diagnosis. I guess now I'm learning how to caregive. All of those, those kinds of things. And said before, this isn't our first time. Kara and I have been here doing this. Caregiving can look very different depending on whether or not you're talking about a broken hip or a cancer diagnosis or dementia. Those are very different kinds of caregiving. And Kara's expertise is in looking at places that people might need to consider home if staying at home is no longer a safe option.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm going to kind of speak to, and then when Kara's done, I think I'm going to speak to the option that people sometimes, by choice or by chance or just if they have to do it, they need to stay in their own home with their folks. And what do those options look like, and what kinds of resources can be there for that? So, Kara, please. Why don't you walk us through like Caregiving 101 from your expertise point of view.
Oh my heavens, Beth, that's asking me to, explain the meaning of life. I mean, it's so vast, right? It's such a big topic, and especially for the individual who's going through it right now, it's huge, and it can certainly feel very overwhelming. We are not prepared in any way, shape, or form for the experiences that we're going through being a caregiver, the different ways that you mentioned, whether it's a spouse or a parent, and whether it's a physical injury we can see, or if it's an internal injury, or if it's a cognitive issue. All of those caregiving tasks look similar but different, and there's different paths that you can take. And as you mentioned, I do, my wheelhouse is kind of in problem solving for folks who need to leave their home. But I always like to include, as part of my conversation here with you, Beth, are some of the resources that folks in their home can access. Certainly aging matters, and the wealth of services that are available there. And if Allie was with us, she would describe them beautifully and perfectly, but I'll leave that to you. And then there are other resources, in the home, where there's care managers, and there's other folks. I like to call it the circle of concern, where you have your physicians, and sometimes they've been lifetime physicians for our seniors. We see that quite frequently. We've got some great doctors here in our county, but different resources that people can utilize in the home, whether it's home health care or private duty services, adult daycare. And then as we move into those phases and needs where we need more hands-on care and more support as the caregiver, to move into those adult family care homes or assisted living homes or skilled nursing as that becomes necessary, and then ultimately possibly a hospice environment. So there's just, wow, you just opened me up to talk all day, and I have a feeling I'm limited. So where do you want me to start? That's kind of a big synopsis, right?
Let's start with the different levels of care. So independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing, hospice, people can join and can jump into this world at any point, depending on their own individual circumstance. There might be a situation where mom and dad have been doing okay, and mom's been caregiving for dad, but mom can't do it anymore and dad needs to go right into, a skilled nursing. But so what are the different levels of care? Just basic. This is people who know nothing. This is, I got a phone call. I'm moving here from Indiana. Mom, I got a phone call from her doctor. She's in the hospital. She's coming, I have to caregive. Talk to me about the different levels of care for people who.
Oh, okay. And then we also definitely need to include who pays for it.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, that's a big deal too. So let's start with what's available. So in the home, we have services such that Aging Matter offers, whereas in-home care services, which might be anything.
I'll cover those, and I will cover those.
Absolutely. So companion services are available. Somebody who just needs somebody to drive them to a doctor's appointment and be with them and bring them home. Somebody who needs somebody to take them grocery shopping, maybe some light housekeeping and meal preparation. So that's one level. Then you get into the I need support, where I need someone to actually physically put their hands on me and assist me with bathing, grooming, dressing. So that's a private duty home care situation. And I'll go ahead and throw who pays for that. So for companion care in the home and private duty in the home, that's going to be a private pay situation. That is completely out of pocket. There are some insurances that give you a little stipend for that these days, but it's a little teeny tiny stipend. And it depends on how many hours you need, how much that's going to cost, and the offset.
I will say that there's an opportunity. There are some older, very original legacy long-term care insurances that might be a little more generous where that's concerned, but that is not necessarily where you're going to be able to pick that up today. I'm talking about policies that were issued, decades ago.
Absolutely. You're exactly right. There are some long-term care policies.
And also people should pay attention, should not give up hope. When you said before, Aging Matters and Provided, there are some grants and some Older Americans Act funding, and some grants and funding that Aging Matters and Provides can point people towards, but that's limited in the number of hours, limited in scope. There are certain things that for short periods of time, Medicare would pay for post an event. So, you might be able to get physical therapy in, you might be able to get home, or you might be able to get home, some home services for short periods of time. So.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Paying for that old long-term care insurance policies may cover a period of time. I've always said, if you've got money I can throw at a problem, I can solve any problem. It's those who are a little bit more limited in their funds, which is incredibly common. And it's a challenge that all of us in social services are not only encountering, but we're having to be very creative in solving it. So I don't want anybody who hears this message to think, oh, I don't have money. I have to stay in my home and nobody's going to be able to help me because I can't afford it. I don't want to give that thought. We as a healthcare community, boy, have we gotten creative through COVID. I mean, look at us on Zoom teaching and having, educational sessions, but man, have we had to really learn new and better ways to take care of each other. And some of that comes with lack of funding. We've had to learn how to get really creative in meeting the needs of our senior citizens. So yes, long-term care insurance, veterans benefits. There is a VA aid and attendance benefit that folks can ask about. Here locally, we have some elder law attorneys that specialize in VA benefits, and we'll do. I am so sorry, my phone is ringing, and I don't know how to make it stop. Oh, I'm just gonna hang up.
While you're there, I know I did have a caregiver conversation with an elder care attorney, Amy B. Van Possen, who did a thing on VA aid and attendance benefits, and she's actually going to be joining us later on in these sessions for the third session of getting organized and getting your ducks in a row. So
fantastic.
We'll touch on those, but that's a very specific demographic of folks that can access those services.
Correct. An excellent choice with Amy, because she offers free seminars.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's like right on point with pricing, right? Everybody can afford a free seminar to better understand what that benefit could look like for them. So that's kind of the companion private duty piece. And
Mhm.
then as folks need more assistance, especially adult children, maybe they're taking care of a parent.
Mhm.
They might just need a break during the day, or imagine this, they're an adult child that still works.
Mhm.
So they need that care and supervision during the daytime for a parent. That is a great utilization of adult daycare. There are several programs within the county that are excellent, and they will take care of senior adults with cognitive issues,
Mhm.
or otherwise just need some additional supervision during the day. It is a more cost effective and not a permanent situation, like actually making that move into an independent living, assisted living, or memory care,
Right.
which may be either cost prohibitive or emotionally prohibitive because we're not ready to make that decision just yet.
Right.
So kind of as you move along the spectrum, you move into those senior living settings, independent living, assisted living, and memory care. And then from there, even though the state of Florida, the licensing is such that they want folks to age in place and actually they want these assisted living facilities to be the last move that a senior has to make, and they've licensed them as such. If somebody does have a medical event or a need to go to a nursing home, then we have the nursing home level available. You do have a large population of individuals receiving Medicaid benefits
Mhm.
that would be in a nursing home, but they are also eligible in certain situations for assisted living.
Mhm.
So it just depends on what their condition is and what their needs are.
So
And then
speak a little bit more to me about like where that line is between, assisted living and skilled nursing. And
see, you just asked me the meaning of life again.
I know I did. I'm so sorry.
It
General
really,
terms. Yeah.
I hate to say this, but it depends. It depends
Yes.
on the assisted living facility. It depends on their license. It depends on the policies and procedures of that particular assisted living facility. For example, extended congregate care is the highest license that an assisted living facility can have with the state of Florida, and that includes some very there, I mean, it's just shy of a nursing home almost, with some of the things that they're able to do with licensed nurses on site. And they have to provide the proper nursing care and oversight to take care of these folks, up to and including a feeding tube. The bolus feeding, not the continuous feeding that you might see at a nursing home or a hospital. Total care with activities of daily living, meaning that person is not participating in any way, shape, or form. You're providing total assistance with all the activities of daily living. That would be appropriate for an extended congregate care licensed assisted living facility. But a lot of our ECC facilities in this area choose not to do feeding tubes.
Right.
Because it's a liability, it's a complication, it's something that they just don't feel comfortable with. So even though they can, they don't, which is probably a good idea. If they don't think they can, they shouldn't.
Right.
So it just really depends on what the individual looks like and what the facility that they have chosen looks like, whether or not they are going to be compatible through end of life. And the goal is, with the support of hospice services that can also come into assisted living facilities, that an individual would be able to age in place throughout end of life and get the appropriate care and attention that they would need, and not have to move to a nursing home. Nursing home is certainly not the final destination it used to be. Most folks can come into the home-like environment of assisted living facilities, and that's their last move. And it's certainly the goal, I think, of most assisted living facilities, but it's really dependent on end of life goals for an assisted living individual. If they come in and they're like, listen, full code, give me everything you got, give me life support, give me feeding tubes, give me everything, they're not going to be able to age in place and end their life in an assisted living facility. They're going to have to go where more medically complex people go, and that's a nursing home. But if somebody comes in to end of life, doesn't mean they have to be a do not resuscitate. They can still be a full code, but they say, you know what? I just want comfort measures. I want hospice to come in, manage my pain, manage my care, give me some oversight, make sure I'm only taking the medications that I have to take at this point in my life. And I'm just going to flow through in this very home-like environment. That individual will more than likely age very well and complete their end of life in the home-like environment of an assisted living facility.
Well, and some organizations and companies and agencies now have graduated care from independent living right up in through and skilled nursing facility. I think the vast majority of them, it's independent living through assisted living, correct?
Well, independent living, assisted living, memory care is the very popular trio. Yes. Right. And there's some movement between those. As their needs increase from independent living, they can transition to assisted. And then if needed, for cognitive decline, memory care is available. The only time you see the addition of a skilled nursing facility is in what's called a continuing care retirement community, a CCRC, as we lovingly refer to them. And we only have one in Brevard County.
We love initials.
Yeah, of course we have initials. We've got alphabet soup for everything. Yeah. Once you learn them all, we will change them.
We will change them.
Yeah, for sure. So in Brevard County, we have one, and that's Buena Vista Estates on 192, the main road here in Melbourne. And that is the one CCRC that we have. They are far more common up north than they are here in Florida, because there's only one in Indian River County, which is immediately below us, and or south of us, I should say, not below. And I'm just not sure beyond that in the different counties, but they're just not that prevalent. And those are buy-ins, and they're based on insurance, and there's a lot of different things at play about those, whereas your basic independent living, assisted living, memory care is going to be on a 30-day kind of situation. You're a month to month. You don't have to commit for long periods of time, and you don't have to come up with a lot of money up front.
Well, and the other piece that can be, can be kind of thrown in the mix to for people to consider is when you're a couple and to enter into independent living and having something where it's a continuous care situation of independent living to assisted living and memory care, and a couple might go in together as an independent living, but be able to stay within that same campus. If one spouse all of a sudden starts to need additional care levels, you're not looking at uprooting everybody again and having to learn all over again with all of these things. And
staying together is so important.
Absolutely.
So if, a lot of times they want the option of living together in the same apartment and getting the support that they need. And sometimes we have situations where just being in the same building is satisfactory. So everybody has, their different needs and goals, and choosing the right community for that. And sometimes it was the right community when you chose it initially, but as your needs changed, maybe the facility or community, as we like to call them, that you chose isn't quite the right fit for you. That's okay. You can make another move, because we are month to month. Everybody in healthcare, assisted living is a month to month contract. So you need to go somewhere that can support you in the way that you need supporting, because nobody has that crystal ball. I wish I had it. I mean, my services would be a lot different if I could crystal ball it for you and say, well, this is the right community for you right now, but down the line, we're going to need to make a plan to go. Everybody wants to move once and call it a day. But as our needs change, we may have to consider another move to be sure that we're getting the support that we need and the way we want it to look. If we want to stay with our spouse, but the community we chose initially isn't going to let us do that, when we have different levels of care needs, then we need to decide what's more important to us, to stay in the same room with our spouse. These are all choices that folks have to make.
I have to say, I think that, at the end of the day, my takeaway from these conversations I've had with Kara is that it really does help to have somebody like Simplifying Senior Living to help navigate you through it, because none of us are subject matter experts. Well, one of us is a subject matter expert, and it's not me. It would be you for that sort
I
of.
don't know about that.
Well,
I'm very
compared
limited.
to most, I would say compared to most, caveat is compared to most lay people who are coming in to this, never having done any of it before. And specifically, folks should know that that this is coming from Brevard County, and that your company is Brevard County centric. So you can say, listen, this is what this organization offers. This is what this one offers. This has this. This is that funky thing about that one. And to be there to guide through people. And these services, the services that your agency provides, your company provides, are done at no cost to the client, correct?
That's exactly right. Yes. We do a lot of free services. I like to say I'm worth every penny. But I do a lot of just taking my 20 plus years of experience, most of it, like you said, Brevard centric, and helping folks problem solve. Doesn't mean that I'm going to have the solution to every problem, but you know what? I have this beautiful network of other healthcare providers and friends here in Brevard County that do amazing things every day. And I make referrals, and I kind of serve as kind of the broker of that. As a social worker, I know that I am not the only individual that can solve a problem. There are other people who are more capable, better informed to solve problems. And I'm able to kind of pass those referrals on to be sure, folks are being helped and get their needs met. And like I said, this is a tough time. I mean, I think that's kind of a relative term, but affordability is getting to be a bigger and bigger word when it comes to ongoing solutions for senior housing, senior living. How are we paying for the services that we want and or need? And I will tell you, in my years of service to seniors, they used to wait so long. It would almost be too long to seek services or a senior living arrangement. It was crisis driven rather than choice driven. And I'm seeing a younger and younger client coming in looking for services, looking to go ahead and figure out how they're going to get support and how they're going to care for themselves going forward. But the one thing that doesn't change is affordability, because things are getting even more expensive. So going back to the other thing that I always love to bring up is having a plan. I am clearly the life of every party when my main knowledge base is senior living and advanced directives. So, always having a plan. What are you going to do with the money that you have? How are you going to best utilize that to serve your care needs going forward? All of those things, when you talk about an estate plan, it's not because you have an estate. It's not because you have this lovely manor with the stables out back. An estate is whatever you own, whatever is yours, and how is that going to serve you in old age? What is the value of that? And putting that in writing and designating people as decision makers, all the great things that Amy Van Fossen is going to talk about, I'm quite sure. But part of that is part of that plan. And having those difficult conversations with families. The holidays were just upon us. I bet there was a lot of fun conversations going on. Were you made aware of any?
We love to add that, like, lovely conversation after, a half a bottle of wine. It's just,
Now, did you notice like an uptick in phone calls after the holidays? I mean, it's only been a couple of days, right? But
yeah,
even between Christmas and New Year?
This is the time that we generally do get additional phone calls. People have kind of swooped down in and visiting their families, and they're like, oh my gosh, mom has been telling us she's fine and she's not really fine, and now we're going to have to do some stuff. So I expect that it probably will start to tail off, but yeah, we do see an uptick between Thanksgiving and Christmas around that sort of, and sometimes it's that crisis mode that you were speaking about before, but yeah, we do have where families are visiting, and all of a sudden family members are the impetus to say, hey, we got to talk about these things, and what are we doing? I think it's really a good thing when we can take the bull by the horns and start to bring the subjects up for ourselves, about ourselves, and they have those conversations. when you're not in a crisis mode.
For sure. For sure. And even like the, feelings seem so much more feelingy around the holidays, right? So probably that's not the best time to be
Yes,
having these
absolutely.
discussions either, because you're all emotional. But when families come and they're like, I'm like, she's 96. You didn't see this coming. I mean, like, if
Right.
only you'd had a clue. And I don't mean that. I don't want to be that, disrespectfully, but
Yes.
these are hard conversations, and kind of as human beings, we like to avoid hard conversations. Nobody likes that kind of thing. But, just like you said, take the bull by the horns. Don't wait for a crisis. If you wait for a crisis, your options go way down. And it's so interesting to me that seniors say, I want to have control and I want to have choices and I want it to be. And I said, if you wait for a crisis, you have no control.
Right.
And your choices just absolutely plummet, because now it's based on the situation you're in at that point, not where you were when you were able to participate in these conversations, explore your options, look at what it is that you want, you don't want, and kind of guide the process when you do get to a time where you need to enact some of these things that you're choosing. It's interesting to me that they want to be so independent and they want to have choices, but not acting and not putting a plan in place is the exact opposite of that. It's counterproductive to what their goal is.
You're absolutely right. I mean, people, I don't know that people always think about the fact that, if you're going to start to, Mike and I, at the point at which we are going to want to start to talk about it, I think it's still a little while off. We're only in our 60s, but at the point at which where we do want to do this, to be able to say, listen, I want to go try it out for a little while. I think some of these graduated care communities will allow you to come in and stay for a couple of weeks or a few days and say, okay, independent living, let's try this and see what we like. And then you can kind of go and say, yeah, I thought I was going to like it, but I really don't like it. Or, gosh, I didn't think I was going to like this at all. And, so you're right. If you wait until the last August home and all of a sudden, boom, family swoops in and the decision is made because you can't be discharged to home and you're in the hospital now and rehab isn't going to bring you back enough to do anything. Now what? Then you're looking at whatever has a bed open.
Exactly. Isn't that the worst though?
Yes.
I mean, it really is whatever has a bed open. And that's it's just an unfortunate position to be in.
Right.
If you could really explore your options, make a decision of what works for you, and actually make a choice to move. Like I said, I've got clients moving younger and younger because some of them just don't want to be that burden to their children. They want to make those decisions and not leave those on their family. Interestingly enough, and I think this is a very new-ish phenomenon, dealing with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For many, many years, when I have been working with families about moving into senior living, because it is such a reduction of square footage, right? I mean, a lot of people are moving from these big houses into much smaller apartments. Downsizing is often an obstacle.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And now there's seniors going, you know what? My kids don't want my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my stuff. I can't take it with me. I'm going to figure out a plan for either donating my stuff, selling my stuff, just general downsizing, and then moving into senior. So my kids don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's some pretty enlightened senior thinking right
there. Absolutely. Just had a conversation the other day. It's not along the lines of moving into an assisted, the long-term care facilities, but we have friends of ours that live up north, and he's still working, but they're looking to the point where he's going to be retiring, and they felt like, now they own a home up there, and they decided, a couple of years in advance, they sold their home and moved into an apartment. They downsized, they got rid of a lot of their stuff. They're going to be moving when they retire, and they know they're not going to be staying where they are. So they took this advantage to be able to do this now. And for the next couple of years, they're going to be staying in the apartment with much less stuff. And they're not going to have to worry about, how they're going to, because the next move is going to be on their own dime. So that same sort of thing, that sort of, let's take a look at what it is we can do proactively.
It's the evolution of stuff, isn't
I
it?
know.
I mean, it used to be, I cannot tell you how many times I had seniors who were just in crisis in their home. They were unsafe, they were unhealthy, they needed so much support, but they would not leave their home because of stuff. And I get it. Stuff
Mhm.
is important. Stuff, we attach emotional meaning to stuff. It's memories, it's a life well lived. It means
Mhm.
literally the world to some of our seniors. And I think it's such an interesting evolution where I think you're noticing we can just we can get along with less, and we're learning to get along with less, and we've got a lot more retirement age
Mhm.
folks going, you know what, we're going to sell everything and go RVing. We're just going to live in an RV. I mean, that's pretty drastic.
Yeah,
Not
there
for
you go.
nothing. I mean, that's really downsizing.
So
But I think there's a different mindset.
yeah, there is. And Kara, I wonder sometimes how much, you're right, just the idea of being able to live on with less. The whole past couple of years with COVID, I think has been a wonderful mind shift in some ways. I mean, not much of it has been good, but if you're going to pull a senior a silver lining out of it, I think one of the silver linings I have been able to do is to recognize, we didn't need all that. Now some of it's stuff and some of it's, but just to be able to pare things down, the difference between need and want, and we were all been forced to make those kinds of choices the past couple of years.
You're exactly right. I've had so many seniors that are looking now into senior housing that said, I don't care about my stuff because I have been isolated in my home with stuff. And
Right.
I now realize the value of that stuff is not as high as I thought it was. I now value socialization. I now value human contact. I now value feeling safe and secure because I'm around other people. Because think about all the seniors that were in their home, they're
Right.
isolated from their families who couldn't come visit them.
Mhm.
They couldn't go to the bank or the grocery store or all the places that they usually go to talk to somebody.
Mhm.
And that was kind of their check-in. If that Publix cashier didn't see a certain senior individual for a few days and that was their routine, that's kind of like, oh, a red flag. We need to kind of, we've got great good citizens that do
Right.
that, but these seniors were isolated from all their routines, all their people that gave them those normal check-ins, and they just realized that valuing being in their home with their stuff just wasn't,
Didn't tip
it
the scales
it
like
took
they
on a
thought it was.
different value after COVID. And we've got a lot of people seeking senior living just for that human contact factor.
Mhm. Absolutely. So one of the things that, so I guess, like I said, my takeaway would be for folks that are now considering finding another place as a as a home, as their permanent address, that they should consider your agency, and there are other agencies like yours within Brevard County that might or
Are
might not be a
correct.
good fit. I think sometimes it's about fit.
Yes.
With anybody that we engage with, there might be one reason or another that one way of doing things or one personality versus another personality. There's more than one of those. I would sincerely
Absolutely.
suggest, and Kara's going to be able to give us, with the end of this all, we're going to make sure that you can give us your contact information for people who want to hear more specifically about you, to contact you. But
Sure.
folks should know that they can come into Sunflower House. We're at the Merritt Square Mall and Caregiver Resource Center, and we have a wall where it's that talks about helping your home and housing. And so there's different cards that you can come get that have numbers on them. Kara, I need some more of yours. Come on by. With information on where next steps for helping to contact companies for living situations.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest part of that, of what you mentioned, just asking for help.
Mhm.
Like, just pick up the phone and ask for help. Let somebody help you. Because here in Brevard County, we have such a wealth of services specific to seniors. Now, I
Mhm.
would love to say, pick up the phone and ask anybody, but don't do that. Uh, call reputable people. And how do you know who's reputable? Well, that's a really good question. And I'm not telling you, call me and I'll tell you. I'm just saying, be very mindful
Mhm.
of who you're contacting and who you're asking for advice, and that they're staying in their lane. I don't give legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I mean, I like to say I watched every episode of Ally McBeal and Boston Legal, but I'm still not an attorney. And so really, people shouldn't be giving legal advice like they should be giving financial advice unless that's their, wheelhouse. But picking up the phone, and it is important, if you have an attorney, call your attorney, ask them,
Mhm.
who are you referring people to? Have you heard of anybody who could help me in this situation? Your financial people, yeah,
Mhm.
ask them. They know. Talk to your doctors,
Right.
all the people who are dealing with this every single day, because when you're dealing with it, it's a very isolated incident and it's isolated to you.
Right.
Go with people and professionals who are seeing, just tons and tons of people all day, every day, that are experiencing things that are similar to you. I'm not going to say it's the same, because it's not, but a
Right.
similar situation. But go with professionals, go with people in your circle of concern who can give you referrals to professionals that can help you.
Right.
And I would say, in any situation, when you call Aging Matters,
Mhm.
and you're a state agency, a county agency, a federally funded agency, would that be accurate?
Well, we're a private nonprofit that's federally and state and locally funded.
Okay,
So yes,
so y'all got some checks and balances going on over
absolutely.
there.
Right.
And so calling an agency like yours is always a great place to start,
Mhm.
because you do have not only your wealth of services that you offer, but then the resources and the relationships that you all have built, by doing educational opportunities like this, by
Absolutely.
having your Sunflower House available with resources. I would just say, for anybody who's listening who might be experiencing overwhelm of caregiver stress, there are tons of us out here that just wait for you to pick up the phone and call us. We
Mhm.
are here, we're available, and we will help. And there's no reason, zero, to go through any kind of caregiving situation on your own, because you're certainly not the only one going through it. I mean, Brevard County, Florida is steeped in seniors, and a lot of them are needing assistance and services.
And a lot of times, even, you might not get the exact answer you want for every question the first phone call you make, but we are going to Aging Matters, your company, or any, lots of the different companies that we have on our resource wall. We are going to be able to point you in the right direction. And if we can't help you, we will find it out, or we will give you a number of somebody else that can find out. So it's about increasing your circle of concern. It's increasing your network and giving you additional toys in your toy box to play with. Um,
Absolutely. I love that. Toys in your toy box.
Instead of tools in
Absolutely.
your
It's usually
toolbox. Yeah.
tools in your toolbox, and
Yeah, it
that's just
just
a
seems like
bummer.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
exactly. It does sound like work, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I say toys
I
in my
like
toy
toys
box.
better.
I think toys in a
Toys are
toy
so
box.
much better. And not only may we not have the answer you want the first time, here's what I will guarantee everybody. It's not easy. I
Mhm.
mean, if we could make it easy, this would be a whole different conversation. But sometimes it is hard. It's hard to get benefits. It's not like, with VA benefits, you don't fill out a form and the
Mhm.
government sends you money. I know that's shocking to hear, that government, working with the government for funds is difficult, but it is. I wish I could make it easier. I wish I could make Medicaid easier. In fact, if I had a list of wishes,
That would be
I
up
think
there.
making Medicaid easier might be like somewhere up there. Like, I'd ask for, $1 million or whatever. But I think up there in my top three would be to make Medicaid easier,
Mhm.
because it's hard and people need the money, and they typically need that money right now,
Well,
to
and
solve the
again,
problems that they
the idea of doing these things, being proactive and getting things in place before it becomes a crisis. Because there's timing, there's wait lists, there's months and months of this and that. You're not going to necessarily be in the best, it's not like you're going to call somebody up today and be qualified for Medicaid tomorrow. I don't
Look
think
that light switch, boom, money's in your bank. It doesn't happen that way. And it is hard and it is frustrating. And you do have to jump through all kinds of hoops.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize. I didn't invent the system. I'm just letting you know it exists.
Sure.
So, the more proactive you are, the better you understand, like you said, the timelines that come with some of this planning, and it's less of a surprise.
Right.
Right down to it. It's not funny, haha. It's funny, interesting. People still don't understand the difference between Medicare and Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
And they think, Medicare is going to pay for so many things that it doesn't, and it never has. So
Mm-hmm.
really understanding the benefits that your adult parent or your senior parent or you as a senior are entitled to, really understanding those benefits and what the limits of those benefits are super important, because you're going to be in for a real surprise when you go to use that Medicare card. And it's kind of like using your Sears card at JCPenney. It doesn't translate. Like those two are two totally different things. So understanding what your benefits are with your Medicare, or if you chose to go with a Medicare Advantage plan, understanding what that means and the limitations of those programs is part of that planning. That's so important.
And one of the things that I'm going to do a shameless plug for Sunflower House and Aging Matters in Regard is that Shine is back to Sunflower House, and they come in.
So good.
So please know that now, yourself, Karen, and everybody else, is that Shine is a part of the Department of Elder Services, and they have a counselor on site here for 3 hours once a week on Monday afternoons now that can help with Medicare and Medicaid and understanding the different things that go with that. And we're just getting through with open enrollment for Medicare, but people come on to those things all the time, and people need to talk about Medicaid. It's that's not an open enrollment kind of thing, but so people should know that they can come in here and access Shine by calling us at 452-4341. We can sign you up so that you can be there. I want to kind of shift a little bit now and speak to folks that are right for the moment deciding to, speak to people who for the moment have decided that maybe we're going to keep mom in her home or move dad in with me. And what are the choices? What are the choices there? You spoke to it a little bit earlier, Kara, but I just want to let folks know that Aging Matters in Brevard has several different programs. There are people that can come into your home, and you said personal care attendants, homemakers, respite care. Then there's services that you can access from outside. It'll be transportation. Meals on Wheels will come into your home, but there's seniors at lunch. So maybe mom can get to a seniors at lunch site. There's like our agency does some senior transportation. So you need her help getting to the doctor. So people should contact. I would highly suggest people contact Aging Matters in Brevard for next steps, where these things are concerned. They are all provided at, as far as a lot of the programs are provided at low cost or on sliding fee scales, but there are often wait lists and times that it takes time to get, people into these programs. So they might be available, but that might not be something that you can get to right away, depending on where you're living. So I want to let folks know that they should think about calling 321-639-8770 is the main number for Aging Matters in Brevard. And folks you can call up and tell us what the issue is, and we can point you in the right direction. And it might be a few different phone calls, but we're going to get you there. so.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. I also wanted to mention for adult children
Mhm,
who are still working,
mhm,
um, a very underutilized resource is your employee assistance program.
mhm,
Just about every company of size
mhm,
has an employee assistance program that assists with administering benefits that
mhm,
are at no charge to the employee. Oftentimes, especially in this day and age where we've got the sandwich generation of workers who are dealing with adult aging parents as
mhm,
well as teenagers or younger children, all while working, that employer wants to protect their employees' productivity. I'd love to say protect their feelings in their heart, but they really want the productivity, so they provide these employee assistance programs. And oftentimes free a few free hours with a geriatric care manager will be
mhm,
paid for through these employee assistance programs. Take advantage of that. That's a great time to put together a plan to understand what benefits are going to be needed. And and the geriatric care manager is very familiar, typically, with aging matters and the timelines involved and the applications process, or they have a connection at Aging Matters who knows all those timelines and can connect you. So those can be really valuable free hours that you
mhm.
receive from employee assistance programs. Also, if you have long-term care insurance,
Right.
check that policy. If you're fortunate enough to have that policy, or your parents had the foresight to invest in that policy years ago, check that policy again for the services of a professional geriatric care manager. Because if it's paid for through your policy, that is a huge benefit to you to have somebody who just has a wealth of information, who has walked this road that you are now walking time and time again in a multitude of situations. So their creativity level is high, their experience level is high, their connections within the community you're trying to navigate are high.
Mhm.
So again, take advantage of those folks around you in the community. And certainly if you can get it paid for by programs and benefits you already have in place, it never hurts to ask that question.
Absolutely. We will be, our next session of this Caregiving 101 is going to be adjusting to a new normal. And we're going to be taking the specific part that we didn't go into as much, which is caring for your loved one in your home with home modifications and exactly what kinds of services are available and who would pay for it. We're talking about that in next week's session. So that's why I didn't touch on it quite so heavily. I really wanted to be able to have your expertise in to speak about specifically about people working towards finding, a different living situation and wherever they call home, you know. So I really appreciate your time. Please, Kara, tell me how can people contact you if
First
they're
of all, I always love spending time with you.
I
This
love
is
it.
the best. This is the only way we can do it for a
I,
while, right? Is
I
is
think
through
so,
Zoom.
yes. Yeah.
So I always wonder if Beth is wearing pants. I don't know. It's always,
It could be no pants Tuesday.
could be no pants Tuesday. We don't know. But how they can get hold of me, Beth, they are more than welcome to reach out to me at Simplifying Senior Living. The number is 321-327-2917. I have a website. It's simplifyingseniorliving.com. All my contact information is on there. You can send me an email if that's easier. And as Beth mentioned, I will answer questions. I have no problem answering questions, even if it's not about senior housing. If I can direct you somewhere, or give a referral somewhere, I would be more than happy to do that. I'm a Brevard County native. I grew up here. I was educated here. I love Brevard County. I haven't gone far in life, I think, for a reason. I love this county so much. So thank you, Beth, again, for this opportunity to chat with you and to chat with whoever plays the recorded version. And if I went a little long or got a little wordy, I apologize.
No,
But
not at all. Not at all.
yeah,
But I'm hoping that
I have a
soon
lot to
we'll be
say.
able to have Kara come to Sunflower House and do an in-person presentation about this. So keep checking Aging Matters in Brevard's website to see whether or not this our newsletter, Sunflower House newsletter, is always up in the most current one. So hopefully in the coming months we'll be able to have you come out and do a live presentation. We'd love that. I'd love to be
It would be
able to.
delightful.
I'm going to see whether or not you're wearing pants.
Well,
I do
it'll be a
miss the
surprise for
cats.
everyone.
I do miss the cats. When
Oh yeah, they're not here. Sorry, they're not in this office.
Kara had an office at home. Now we're kind of all back. But yes, I
Yeah.
do miss cats. So,
Oh, they'll make an appearance if they were here, I assure you.
I know. So I thank you very, very much. And that's another episode of first session of Caregiving 101. And
Thank you, Beth.
thanks a lot. Bye-bye.